Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Jason from Dropshipping University coming back at you guys with a brand new episode. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different because I have compiled for you a video from the new wholesale dropshipping course that is to be released in the end of March, beginning of April. And this is going to give you a little taste, a little teaser of what this course is all about. And what I'm talking about in this new episode is all about red flags and posers when dealing with wholesale distributors. When you're trying to find legitimate, viable wholesale distributors, there's certain red flags to be cautious about, and that's what I go through in the PowerPoint in this episode. So if this sounds good to you guys, go ahead and smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, hit that little bell notification, because that is the only way that you'll be able to receive notifications every time a new episode like this drops. And without further ado, let's take a look. Okay, this is going to be a real short video where I'm going to go over the red flags and potential red flags when going through wholesale suppliers' websites. Even though in the last lesson we talked about it and I briefly showed you some of the examples of these red flags, I want to list off those red flags, and I want you guys to take note of these red flags and potential red flags, because it's really important. Either you have a mental note when you're going through these websites or you actually write these things down. These are going to be the most common occurrences that you see when going through these websites. Okay, so number one, this is going to be a definite red flag. Okay, that's solely focused on retail. When a wholesale supplier or a quote unquote wholesale supplier's website is solely focused on retail, that is going to be a red flag. All right, you do not want to be dealing with retailers. This is not retail arbitrage. We are focused on wholesale drop shipping. So we want to actually go and find legitimate US based wholesale suppliers, wholesale distributors, or manufacturers. That's what we're looking for. So if their website is solely focused on retail, they have no wholesale aspect, this is the best rule of thumb for you guys, then I would run away. I would just get rid of them off the prospective suppliers list and be done with them, because chances are you're going to save yourself a lot of time down the road. Okay. The second thing is contradictory language and policy. So if you see somewhere in their policies or on their pages saying one thing and then later on in a different page that the policy is contradicted, then that's definitely going to be a red flag. Most likely they don't know what they're doing, or they might have updated a policy and forgot to update another policy, but it shows that they're not putting in the time required to keep up with things. Now, this could also be a potential red flag. It's not necessarily a game breaker for me, but it's definitely going to be something that you should be high alert about, because contradictory language is usually a company that really doesn't care so much about you as their customer, right? So let's move on to the next one, and that's subscription costs or onboarding fees. And you are going to, I guarantee you're going to come across some of these suppliers that pose as wholesale suppliers, right? And they're trying to get you onboarded, but you have to pay a certain amount of money to either start up with them, usually a couple $100s, just to say, oh, I'm a reseller of your products, or they say, all right, you can be a reseller, but you have to pay $100 a month. That makes no sense. I have never dealt with a wholesale supplier that has charged me extra money to just be a reseller of theirs. Their priority should be, hey, we want to make money, you guys want to make money, everybody wins. That's the good wholesale supplier rationality, not let's squeeze our authorized retailers for as much money as possible. That doesn't make sense. That is not a industry standard. That's not competitive. That makes no sense. So if you see that, that's a definite red flag. I would not pay for subscription costs or onboarding fees unless it's an integration cost into your Shopify store or something like that, where they have to custom code into your Shopify store, wherever you're hosting some of their products. In that case, yeah, you're going to have to pay an extra cost because they have to get coders that actually custom code that and integrate it for you. But besides that, I wouldn't pay any money like that. There are dropship fees and other expenses that are associated to the fulfillment of your orders, but not subscription costs or onboarding fees. Makes no sense. All right, the next one is going to be no contact information or bad contact information. Okay, so if you go onto these websites and you see that there's no contact information whatsoever, there's no phone number, there's no contact us link, there's no way for you to actually get in touch with them, there's no emails, that's definitely a red flag. Or if it's bad contact information, so if you look up somebody's information or you send out an email and it bounced back to you, then that means that's not an updated email. It could be a completely fake email. something like that. Also, bad contact information would be something like a PO box or something like that. I don't really think a PO box should represent a company. Okay. The next thing is no warehouse. If they don't have a warehouse, if they don't have facilities to actually take care of fulfillment, how are they supposed to drop ship products for you? Chances are, if they don't have a warehouse, then they're probably drop shipping and they're an intermediary. And we want to cut out any middleman if possible. So there's a lot of posers out there that say, oh, we're a wholesale supplier, we're a wholesale distributor. And what they're really doing is they are acting as another middleman. So they're actually drop shipping for you, and you're going to have lower profit margins. You want to get as close to the source as possible. So let's go directly either to the manufacturer, the real wholesale distributor, not these people who are faking, pretending that they're legitimate wholesale suppliers. Don't deal with that. If they don't have a warehouse, then chances are, how are they going to be able to fulfill the products for you? Probably they are drop shipping it as well. So the last thing here for a red flag, definite red flag, is international only. So if they only have an international presence, or if they only have presence in another country, this course is focused on US based wholesale distribution, wholesale suppliers. Okay. That is what we're focusing on in this course. We're not looking for suppliers, wholesale suppliers in Australia or UK. But if you are an international student from one of those countries and you want to drop ship in one of those countries on ebay.au or ebay.uk or ebay.ca Canada, then you can absolutely do that. You can apply these policies and do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if they're only going to be able to drop ship in those markets, we want to be cognizant of that. And I'm not from those countries. So for me, I'm going to be focusing on US based wholesale suppliers. So if they only have an international presence, I don't want to deal with them. There are some wholesale suppliers that do actually have international presence, in multiple countries. So you could work with those companies as well. Those are usually the bigger companies. So these are going to be the potential red flags. These are not automatic. These are not hard and fast rules, but these are things that you should be aware of when you're going through these websites and kind of really drawing a mental note, because some of these could be big deals. They could be very much so red flags. So if they're mainly focused on retail, and last slide we talked about they're solely focused on retail, but if they're mainly focused on retail, that's something to be at least cautious about, right? We talked about El Dorado, and it seemed as though that their only focus was wholesale dropshipping. That was their only focus. They only had a wholesale arm. If they only have a wholesale arm, that's what they specialize in, right? Those are probably going to be much better suppliers than the ones that are trying to do both, have a hand in both pots, retail and wholesale. Chances are that's going to be what's happening. Okay. So the next thing here is expired page copyright date. And that actually came up a bunch in that last lesson, where we saw some websites that looked like they were copyright 2018, 2016, 2012. That could be a potential red flag, because that's showing to me that they're not keeping up with their website. They're not going in and checking these things. We want to be working with companies that are on top of their stuff. We want to make sure that they're professional and they know what they're doing, because when it comes time to fulfilling orders, are they going to forget? Are they going to forget to fulfill my orders? If I send in 10 orders to them, are they going to only do 1 or 2 of them that day when they're supposed to get all of them done? Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. Those are indicators. Those are potential indicators, but it is not a hard and fast rule. So just keep it in mind, make note of it, but it's not necessarily a red flag. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about here is dead links. You're going to come across a lot of wholesale suppliers that have dead links. Again, this is much like that copyright date. They are not keeping up with their site maintenance. They're supposed to be keeping up with their website maintenance, and they're not, but that could also mean that they're just not keeping up with it because they're focusing on other businesses that they're working with. They're focusing on the business to business relationship that they've curated. So that could be one thing, or it could be that they're actually a bad company to work with because they are not responsible and they're not keeping up with what they're supposed to be keeping up with, and that information, they're not doing a good job of collecting that and making sure that those links are live. So the next thing here is PO boxes and residential company addresses, and we just talked about that in the last slide. I think a PO box is a definite red flag, but residential company address, that could be another issue, because if they're using a garage or their house, that's a very small time wholesale supplier. I would not want to work with a brand new startup like that with 1 or 2 employees or a family that's taking care of fulfillment. I could not put the trust of my business into their hands like that. Now, you guys could sit here and say and argue, and maybe you have worked with some really, really small mom and pop wholesale distributors that have worked out perfectly for you. I'm not going to do that. I would be fearful of scale with them and actually the automation aspect with them. Okay. So the last thing here is no wholesale info. If they have no information about wholesale, then I'm probably going to consider them a dead lead, because if they have no wholesale information on their website, then they're not really actively advertising it. However, what I would do, especially in the beginning, if you guys haven't gotten a lot of wholesale suppliers yet, if you haven't made a good list of viable wholesale suppliers, what I would do is call them on the phone, because sometimes, unfortunately, they just don't put the information on their website, or maybe they just started a wholesale dropshipping program very recently, and you call them on the phone and they say, hey, yeah, we just started last month. We haven't updated our website yet. There's a lot of variabilities. There's a lot of potential to actually work with these suppliers, but you have to think about these things before you do. Just keep note in the back of your mind, oh, there's no wholesale information. This could be a potential red flag, but it's not necessarily disqualifying. All right. So I hope you guys learned a lot from this. These are going to be the red flags you want to make note of when going through wholesale suppliers' websites. Thank you guys. And again, guys, that is actually a video from this new wholesale dropshipping course, which is going to be released on April 1st. That is the tentative release date for everybody. And that wholesale dropshipping course is obviously going to go a lot more in depth on all of the topics, and a lot of topics you've probably never even heard of with wholesale dropshipping. So I hope you guys are excited. If you want to get started today, start your own eBay wholesale dropshipping store, all you have to do is go ahead and click that link down in the description. I have a free mini course, which is 5 lessons, video lessons with over an hour of content, where I can actually help you guys get set up with wholesale dropshipping in 2020 and beyond. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you want to see more content like this. I might even drop another taster video from the course itself. And I hope you guys enjoy it. See ya.